What's up, everybody? It's Minty at the start of every episode. I'm sure you guys are getting used to seeing me by now. But thanks for stopping by the 6th episode of the It's Racecar Time podcast. If that number is confusing for you, why we went from 4 to 6, we talk about that in this episode. So don't fret too much about it. You're going to be hearing about it in a second. Speaking of, today's episode focuses a lot more around a lot of the events that are going on in NASCAR, as well as, some of the more controversial situations that are surrounding that at the moment. So definitely a very opinionated podcast this time, but I hope you guys enjoy it, and we hope to see some support from you as well. Any questions or comments or things you might want to say or join in on, we'd love to see it in the comments. We need to see more comments rolling in, and please, if you enjoy the episode or any of our old episodes, we'd love to have you subscribe, so that way you get to enjoy more of the content, and a like goes a really long way as well for letting us know, one, that you guys enjoy the content, as well as helping us be able to promote it to some more people without having to pay for it or something ridiculous like that, because that's definitely not the route we want to take. With that being said, I hope all of you enjoy this episode. It's a pretty interesting one, and we've got some pretty funny moments as well. Anyway, guys, I hope you have an enjoyable experience watching the 6th episode of the It's Racecar Time podcast. I've been Minty, and it's Racecar Time. Hello, Racecar fans and fighter jet racing fans as well. Welcome to the 6th episode of It's the Racecar Time podcast. My name's Minty, followed by Nab here as well, and we have some stuff to talk about this week. Neil, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
He's
some
too
of
important.
You might be a little confused. Well, I'm trying to pull up the thing that we're... Oh, that's his name. Okay. Well, we'll get to this later that I was pulling up. Some of you, if you only follow the audio side, you guys might be a little confused that we skipped from 4 to 6.
Well, here's the thing. We didn't. We've got one episode that is only on YouTube. So if you want to listen to that podcast, you have to go to the YouTube, drop a subscribe. I want to see some action in the comments, and if you could like the video, if you enjoyed it, that helps a lot more than you could know.
A lot more. We're just trying to have some fun here on the internet, talking race cars and just hanging out, acting fools, but in the best fun way possible.
Basically. Yeah, we're trying to, bring out dorky race car nerds like us en masse, so that way we can build kind of a fun community and have more people to discuss our super niche interest with.
I wouldn't say race cars are a niche interest. It's just the way we go about it is a niche interest. Because,
that is true.
like you have to be a certain level of weirdness to be into it to the extent that we are. Even though I'm nerdy about it in other areas than you. So
this is true. I think we cover a pretty good spectrum of racing, just as fans and co-hosts of the most mediocre racing podcast on the planet.
Yeah, we don't even have intro and outro. We still need to find that Eurobeat music for intro and outro.
Oh yes, that's a great idea.
Definitely Initial D style, but definitely not Initial D, because we don't want to get copyright infringed. We don't want to infringe any copyright.
Actually, Neil, that gives me a great idea. Hear me out here.
Okay.
If there's any, fans of the show that might be watching this, that might be, some kind of a music producer, electronic dance music, that kind of a thing. I think we want to do an intro that includes some kind of, Initial D Eurobeat style of music that we can throw in there, and it would be cool to be able to have a fan produce it so they can be part of the show, and perhaps we could even compensate you for it, and make our show more interesting so that way more people want to see it and have a great time and that kind of thing. So if there's any fans that would like to do so, please throw us an email. It's racecartime@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to take some applications or see what you got. It sounds like a lot of fun, actually. I think it would be fun to do this as a fan thing.
Yeah, you could also send it to the Instagram direct message. It's Racecar time. That's another way. And also, please like get on the Discord. So like when we're watching racing, we can like just chat about the races going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a really easy way to reach out to us and be part of, you know, our conversation is the Discord. Hell, I'm on there literally all day. The whole day.
He is.
I rarely leave my
joke.
desk.
I pretty much only get on Discord for this podcast, and when the race is on, I hop onto our Discord channel to see if there's any action going on, and try to chat with people on there. Sometimes I'm also on Reddit, so if you're on Reddit, keep an eye out for NAB2488 on Reddit, especially the NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar, IMSA, all those subreddits. I'm on all of those.
Oh, for sure.
I was on those today too.
Yeah, actually, Neil, that brings up a great point. I was thinking about maybe, you know, as we have some more people trickle into the Discord, I think it'd be fun to start up like a watch party thing where, you know, we'll one of us will do a live stream in the Discord of a race that we're watching, and then, you know, whoever might be a part of it, you know, we can all sit in the voice call together and discuss what's going on, some things we like, some things we don't like, and that way we can, you know, talk about it on the podcast as well, and maybe be able to, you know, feature some people that might want to join in.
One of the things I would really like to get to the point of doing, which might be difficult in this COVID life that we're currently living, is eventually have like either online Discord watch parties or in-person live stream watch parties of major races. Like if we can't like go and attend the 12 hours to Sebring, okay, let's have a watch party like where
that sounds like a great time.
Co-hosts, yeah, and then we'll just live stream it and we can talk about it during it 12 hours, or hopefully we'll be going to Petite this year.
Yeah, if Petite's on, we're going. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully, like, some of the races that we can get to in the southeast where we're at, we're going to try to go to as many as we physically can. Because this is not our full-time jobs. This is just something we like to hang out and do. But we're going to try to do as many as we can. Or, like, 24 hours of Le Mans. If we're, like, we could do a watch party for 24 hours of Le Mans. Or, like, Monaco, like, I would think a fantastic one would be Sunday, Memorial Day, when it's normal, and we got the Monaco Grand Prix, the
that'd be cool. I would love to do
600.
I would love to do a Monaco
like
stream.
A live
that would
stream,
be awesome.
Just do a. Obviously, going to those would be just a dream, but obviously, just doing a live Discord live stream type of thing is something that I totally love to do.
I think it's a great idea, Neil. But that'll be fun.
So, well then, I guess let's go ahead and get into the racing that's been going on. Pretty much right now, the only thing going on is NASCAR.
Yep.
NASCAR in Talladega. I'm sure anyone that listens to this podcast, actually, I think everyone on the planet knows what's going on.
Yeah, pretty much everybody knows about what's going on with NASCAR
at least
right now.
Everyone in the U.S., I would think, because well, let's talk a little bit about what we talked about last week in our YouTube exclusive. We did talk about the Bubba Wallace and calling out to get rid of the Confederate flag, and we talked about how it was a great idea and it's fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do a quick recap.
Unfortunately, they showed up to Alabama in Talladega, and in true Alabama fashion, just like the Top Gear episode where they tried to go across the state.
Oh yeah, where they had like spray paint
like,
and like
NASCAR sucks.
Man love, okay. Cool.
Oh yeah, cool. Man love, okay. Yeah, that's right. Oh, Hillary for president.
Oh my god, it's so funny.
And then they were like, yeah, and then the state of Alabama came out in full force and showed just one of the reasons why I've been to Talladega as a fan, and there's a reason I've only been once.
Yeah, Alabama there's a reason it's by far the most made fun of state.
Yeah.
and that includes the rest of the country
I don't-
making fun of
I
California.
don't know. I make fun of Mississippi a lot too.
Oh, Mississippi's Alabama times 2, but nobody talks about it. It's like
Yeah, just because it's
completely forgotten.
Yeah, because like it's not
it's abandoned.
quite Texas. It's not quite Texas. It's not quite Louisiana, but then Alabama. So like it's like right in between. Like so, there's like Atlanta that has a really big city. Like Georgia, it's got Atlanta, major transportation hub,
Yep.
and then Alabama. There's no sports teams. There's nothing, but at least you got Alabama football.
Yeah,
Then you
that's
go to
about it.
Mississippi. Who the fuck do you have in Mississippi? You got the Mississippi Braves. You got Biloxi. You got fucking.
Who the fuck
know.
is in
Like-
Mississippi? I never thought about it. I
because,
just realized I never thought
there's
about it.
nothing there.
There's
it's
nothing.
exactly like in between, and then you go over one more state, and then you got New Orleans and the Saints, and like it's a big
Yep.
city. It's
Everything comes back. Yep.
something. Mississippi is just mini Alabama.
Yeah, it's like if Alabama had, a back property and then the woods behind that, that's Mississippi.
Okay, yeah, that's a good comparison. But anyway, so Alabama came out in full force, showing their Alabama side. They had, they had a Confederate flag flying behind a plane
Yep.
over the race that said defund NASCAR instead of defund the police or whatever.
Right.
So that was stupid. First off, how much money did someone spend on something like that?
I bet it was
Like-
just the guy that owned the plane happened to be a fan and
Do you
just
think he
took
just happened
advantage of
to
it.
own the plane?
I'm willing that's the case. I'm willing to bet that's the case.
Okay, he didn't hire somebody to do it.
I wouldn't assume so. I mean, obviously nobody really knows who it was. It's just, a plane passed by with a banner. It's a common occurrence at a lot of events.
Yeah. Well,
And then people were driving up
every-
selling Confederate flag merchandise and shit out of the parking lot. People had, Confederate flags
Yeah.
off the back of their trucks. Okay.
I mean, it's Alabama. I mean, I went to a NASCAR race in Pennsylvania, and there were Confederate flags all over there. And my first thought was, you do realize we're in the North right now, right? Like, this is not a Confederate state.
Could you
This is
imagine
Pennsylvania.
if, the rest of the country held the same resentment that the South does towards the North? Like, what if there was, true Northern diehards, in today's day and age, and they saw the Confederate flags in the North?
Oh, like if they just
Like,
saw
get the
Confederate
fuck,
flag and they,
get the fuck back to
they
the
react
South!
as-
Yeah, shitty and
they
stupid
react-
and childish as these fucking cousin bumpers do.
I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
damn.
because it's stupid. So let's
Well,
remember that.
Okay, so all that is just stupid. But then the whole heinous thing of someone putting a noose over Bubba Wallace's car in the garage.
Yeah, that was a piece
So-
of shit fucking move. That's shitty.
Yeah. Here's one of the things. First off, I commend NASCAR for actually coming out and talking about it and letting it get out into the news cycle.
Yeah.
Because it's obvious that NASCAR let this out and wanted to talk about it because they were as pissed off about it as the rest of because if they didn't let it out into the media and no one ever heard about it, it could have just been swept under the rug, and then some of the displays that we had yesterday at the NASCAR race wouldn't have happened and wouldn't have meant anything. So I applaud NASCAR for that. Now here's my second thing that I want to kind of degrade NASCAR for. First off, how did this happen? So the only people in the garage area right now are NASCAR officials, team members,
Of course.
security personnel, and some cleaning crew, and some track officials. There's no fans allowed. So either someone who essentially is a part of the sport did it,
Yep.
or a fan somehow figured out how to sneak in and do it, And that just means the security measures that NASCAR has put up are jack shit, and all they're doing is pointless. So either way, NASCAR looks bad.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that kind of read weird to me, because I read the article. It was on ESPN, or ESPN.
You ran, yeah.
And it seemed like oddly convenient in a way, because I don't think anybody would be quite so bold as to use a fucking noose, because at that point it degrades the whole point that the Confederate flag diehards make, where it's Southern pride, it's not a racist thing. Well, that is a fucking racist thing.
That is 100%.
Hands down. There is no other way to put that. You cannot skew that any other way.
Yeah.
So the question is, that kind of tripped me up, because I read it at first and I got super mad about it, and I'm gung-ho, like, who the fuck is this dog shit of a person to be able to do that? And then I'm thinking back and I'm like, why does this almost kind of feel like a stunt? And I'm not trying to put that on Bubba Wallace or his team or anybody.
I definitely don't think it's Bubba Wallace.
No, absolutely fucking not. He's fought way too hard for this fucking shit. But it's weird because it didn't feel real, and I know his team hid it from him initially. Yeah. Like, they reported it straight to NASCAR when they found it. But it's almost
apparently
like,
Bubba
did somebody NASCAR put it in there? And good. I hope he never has to fucking deal with this shit again.
Apparently Bubba never saw it. Oh, did you watch the race yesterday or no?
I didn't get a chance
at least
to.
The highlights. Well, like, they did an interview with Bubba Wallace after the race. So they allowed 5,000 fans in.
Right.
So he went out and, like, waved hello to the fans and all that kind of stuff. And he was just in tears talking about how much it means to him to have all the support and stuff from the fans and the rest of the garage.
Right.
But then the one thing is, there's someone in that garage. It's either someone in NASCAR.
That's where I'm thinking. To me, it reads like NASCAR or maybe a track official.
I'm thinking it. I mean, obviously, we have no idea. It's all just shooting. What is it? Fish in a barrel? No.
It's pure speculation at this point. I mean, there is no evidence to who's done it yet, or at least it's not out.
Yeah. And the fact that it's not out, I'm like, why do they not have security cameras all over that place, trying to limit, like,
it's Alabama,
this whole COVID thing?
Who the fuck knows?
I mean, and also, racetracks are not, especially big ones like that, they're not quite as nice as everyone probably thinks they are. Most of them are not on the level as, like, Daytona, where it's like, or Daytona or Indianapolis.
They are insane tracks. They're beautiful to go to.
Yeah, those are insanely beautiful. But then there's a Talladega, which I've been to Talladega. It's on the same level as an Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
Or here's an idea: if you want to talk about luxury at NASCAR tracks. So I was talking about the NASCAR race I went to in Pennsylvania. They are famous for having Long John. Do you know what Long John is?
I don't think so. Unless we're talking about Long John Silver's, but...
No, not Long John Silver's. I guess it's named after that. But it's
is
literally a Long John. It is the world's longest urinal. It's a trough.
I was not expecting that.
Halfway the length of the front stretch at Pocono. And the front stretch is over a mile. So it's half a mile long. It's a half a mile long trough. And that is the main men's room of the track. Just to give you an idea. And that is the track NASCAR is going to this weekend. To give you the idea of the common NASCAR track, how luxurious they tend to be.
And I think to a lot of fans, or fans of racing, but not necessarily of NASCAR, I think that's something they would probably expect. Is like, wow, they got this big ass stadium to pile all these people in and to see cars go around in a circle. It's probably not the nicest stadium, But then you have
No,
outliers
it's
like
not.
Indianapolis and Daytona. I haven't been to Indianapolis, although I have been to Daytona, and it is
Gorgeous.
like, well, it's weird because parts of it look like a NASCAR, you know, track.
Yeah.
The rest of it is like, you know, it lives up to the IMSA side, or, you know,
Or like,
a classier approach. Because, like, even out
Yeah.
front, the Toyota entrance has like a big waterfall with, you know, new Toyota vehicles on it, and you know, that makes it look rugged and stuff. But it's like a fucking 30-foot tall fucking ordeal. It's nuts. And you know,
yeah.
the grass is perfect. There's a million different places you can get food and souvenirs and water and all that kinds of stuff, and it's all super well organized. Then you go to like Atlanta Motor Speedway, and it's kind of like, yep, here we are. We're at the track.
Yeah, it's a parking lot where they set up a bunch of stuff out front, and then a bunch of garages on the inside. Like, Atlanta Motor Speedway is a nice track. Like, there's some tracks on the NASCAR circuit that I've been to that are much worse. Honestly, I would say Talladega is one of them. Now, I would have to say, Talladega is a fun track to go to for a white man. Because, like, I have heard some of the craziest things there. Granted, I heard some pretty freaking racist stuff when I lived in Pennsylvania, too. So, like, it's all over the place. It's just a part of it.
Yeah.
Now, when I lived in Pennsylvania, I also went to one of the IndyCar races in Pocono. And that was a completely different feel. Because half the people that were there were from another country. Like, I'm talking about the fans, not even the driver.
Oh, yeah.
Because my favorite IndyCar driver at the time was Juan Pablo Montoya. So there was a bunch of Colombians sitting kind of close to me. And back then I was better practiced at Spanish. Right now I can order a burrito and that's about it. But back then I could carry on a slight conversation, so I would talk to them a little bit about Juan Pablo Montoya in the middle of the race and stuff. And I actually took my wife to that race, and she was like, "Oh man, I've been to NASCAR races before. This is so much better." I'm like, "Yeah, because it's just a classier group of fans."
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, there was like no hint of racism or anything. There were so many different colors and flags of different countries all over the place. So that was fun. And yes, there I used the long john because that was closest urinal. So
it's the closest urinal to everything.
I mean, well, yeah, I mean, it's the entire, in Pocono, they only have the front stretch grandstand, so they don't have anything because it's a 2.5 mile oval.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same size as Indy, but holds like a third the people. So
it's terrible design, you know, for grandstands and stands and stuff.
Well, let me say this in terms of track design, and we'll get back to the terrible racist stuff with Bubba. I just much prefer to talk about it.
Oh no, track design is fine. I'm talking about like spectator area.
Yeah, well, it's as basic can be. Charlotte Motor Speedway is quite good now. I went to the first Roval race for Charlotte, and Charlotte's quite nice.
Yeah.
Another one I haven't been to that I've heard is nice is Barber, which you have the flag right behind you. But I've never been to Barber.
Barber's insane. Barber's cool.
One of my bucket lists. That was on one of my bucket lists of trying to go this year before this whole COVID bullshit started. So.
Yep.
Well, I guess we can start talking about the other fucked up shit. So, you didn't know about this. So, Mike Skinner's son. Do you know who Mike Skinner is? I'll take that as a no.
Is he a driver or a team runner? Driver, okay.
He was a driver. He's a Craftsman Truck Series champion, now Gander Mountain, whatever.
Okay.
He raced the 31 Lowe's car for Richard Childress way back when. So he was teammates with Dale Earnhardt.
Right.
And he drove Dale Earnhardt's car, and then he drove for Toyota and stuff.
Yeah, I recognize the name, but I couldn't put a face to it.
Yeah. Oh, and he was also on the Grand Tour. That's right. He was like the driver for the first season of the Grand Tour.
That makes a lot more
same
sense.
Guy.
Okay.
His son, not him, his son put on social media that Bubba Wallace should have been dragged around the pits with the noose.
Fuck that guy. What the
Right?
fuck is that? Get the fuck out of our sport, dude. Fuck no.
Well, luckily, he's not really in the sport because he's just the son of a driver, but he doesn't do anything in the sport.
He
But,
grew up around
that's
the
the kind
sport. He should understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, he understands things completely differently.
A fucking
that
idiot.
happened literally that news came out literally what? Here's one from USA Today 2 hours ago. Son of ex-NASCAR driver Mike Skinner wrote on Facebook, "My hat is off to who put the noose on at his car. They should have dragged him around by the noose around the pits."
I am so incredibly disappointed.
So am I, especially since I thought NASCAR as an organization is trying so hard to eliminate this type of shit from the sport, from their form of sport. But people like this that keep rearing their ugly ass heads,
dude,
and saying stupid ass shit.
It's like, first of all,
come on.
What the fuck did he do to you? Second of all, he's not even like the first, or he's not even close to being the first black driver in the sport. He just happens to be the most prominent current one.
I'm trying to think. There's been so many. There's been quite a few.
It harms the growth of the sport and the stability of the sport. It keeps fans away. You know, potential fans that, you know, might be interested in coming out to a NASCAR event. Maybe you're getting into racing and you want to check out, you know, what's going on. And then you show up and you see these shitheads walking around being fucking morons. What the fuck are you thinking?
So the last time I actually went to a NASCAR race was the nationwide truck double, the double header race. This was last year. I didn't go this year because they didn't allow fans, but last year. And I overheard someone saying there were two Indian women, like Indian, like not Bangladesh, but like...
Sure. Like from India?
From India, not Indian as a Native American. Indian.
Right.
Actual Indian. There were two women sitting there. They were sitting not that far behind me. And there was another guy sitting a couple seats down from me, and I heard him talking to his buddy, and he asked his buddy if they were allowed to be here. And then I was just like, okay, does he mean like, is he getting Indian confused with Muslim?
That's kind of what I'm hearing here.
Or is he...
Or just sees brown as brown, I mean... Fucking...
Or he's just like, no, they're brown and women, so they can't possibly like NASCAR. Or be interested in NASCAR at all.
Do you think his point... And obviously this is irrelevant now, but not necessarily irrelevant. Yeah. Anyway, do you think his point was... I think you're along the lines of getting that right with the getting it, you know, Indian confused with Muslim, in the sense of I know a lot of women in certain you know, versions of Muslim as a whole, or certain areas of the greater Muslim, you know, over. Yeah. I'm losing the word. They can't do certain things without.
Male, I get it.
Right. Well, they can't do certain things without, you know, a family male present and that kind of a thing, or maybe he was referring to like not wearing a, a hair cover of some kind.
Hijab because they weren't
hijab. That's the word I was thinking.
Muslim. So, I mean,
maybe he was trying to be.
Luckily, they didn't hear that. Luckily,
thank
they
God
didn't
for
hear that. And honestly, if I heard that now, I would have spoke up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I feel bad that I didn't speak up back then.
Right.
Because, I mean, that's the type of thing that... Imagine if NASCAR got rid of all this shit back in, like, the early 2000s. Like, 2002, 2003, when freaking NASCAR was, like, the only sport besides the NFL, practically, in this country. Like there was NASCAR, there was the NFL that beat everyone's ass, and in the summer NASCAR kicked everyone's ass. Imagine if they started taking this type of line and become
more open-minded and,
yeah,
pro everybody's welcome. Think how good the sport would have been. And, how much more prominent it would be today.
How many more potentially women drivers we would have, black drivers.
Any other race for that matter.
Just period. Like, I'm honestly shocked that Daniel Suarez is the only Latino driver. Well, no, Eric Almirola is also Spanish, but his name just doesn't sound as Spanish as Daniel Suarez. Well, Eric Almirola is an American from California who is Latin descent. Right. Daniel Suarez is from Monterrey, Mexico.
Yeah.
So, like, his first language was Spanish. He had to learn English before coming to America to drive NASCAR.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of open positions that, other prominent, teams or organizations may be interested in buying into the sport if they feel like, oh, you know what, I've got this great driver from, let's say Japan or India or, possibly even China or anywhere else in the world. But because we don't want to be associated with the things that NASCAR has been associated with in the public eye for such a long time, they'll stay out of it. And that's killing the sport.
And they keep going to open wheel and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Which everyone almost always tries to go to Formula One. Everyone
of course,
does.
It's the pinnacle
of racing.
Doesn't matter
what country. Yeah. But just even if we're getting like scraps off of Formula One, like
you're still going to raise the overall skill tier.
And then also some guys they might like oval racing. One of the things NASCAR did this week before the race was they granted an exception to Will Davidson, who is an IndyCar driver, to run at Talladega, but then they canceled it because there was no practice or qualifying, and that would have been his first laps in a stock car, period.
Right, so he wouldn't have had any testing time at all.
No testing time, no practice, nothing. So
I could see why that would be an issue. When I first heard
that, I was like, that, because he's raced, I think he's been in 3 Indy 500s. So at first they were like, okay, that's enough experience. Because I would say, if you've raced Indy 500s, you could race at Talladega.
But yeah, you have the skill,
time.
But not being familiar with the car at all is a completely different story.
Even if, like, qualifying on I say restrictor plate, but they don't use restrictor plates anymore. Fine, restrictor plate track. I don't know what else to call it. Super speedway, I guess you could call it. Drafting track. I don't know. Plate track. Daytona, Talladega. Those are the ones I'm referring to.
Yeah, tell us in the comments below, what is the correct term for today's restrictor plate racing?
Now? Because they don't have restrictor plates anymore. Well, they do have restrictor plates. They have what they call tapered spacers, which is essentially a restrictor plate, but they have them on every track above, I believe it's 1.25 miles. So like Darlington and up has this tapered spacer on it. So instead of making 4 engines for 4 races, they essentially split the races in half. It was a cost-saving measure, so they have the same rules at Daytona and Talladega that they do at Darlington and Charlotte.
Right.
As a cost-saving measure. And then on short tracks, they have a slightly bigger tapered spacer, so they have more horsepower. But anyway, so Tony Stewart one time described qualifying at one of these tracks as so easy you can make a trained chimp do it.
Yeah, because it's just fastest speed you can go in a big circle.
Big circle. So I'm sure Will Davidson could have handled it.
Yeah, I don't think that would have been an issue.
Whole getting into a pack, because he wouldn't be able to do any of the bumping because he's an IndyCar driver. You don't bump.
No, if you do, those two people ruin their whole race and might die. That's a whole nother beast to be touching wheels and stuff. And it's shit you see in NASCAR, or not NASCAR, Formula 1 as well. As soon as those fucking open wheels touch, the thing starts flopping around everywhere. Everybody goes sliding off. There's sparks shooting fucking everywhere.
Well, Mark Webber at Valencia a few years ago, where one car was going slow, and then he just like that off the top.
That was fucking scary.
Or that woman at Macau, I think.
Yeah, the Formula 3 race, right? Where she went flying into the corner due to brake failure and then plowed into the fucking wall. Went up 3 stories. There was a fucking building that she basically hit, other than the fence in the way.
Yeah.
Or the
She essentially
netting?
went full Man of Steel, Superman versus Zod into the building.
Oh, yeah, that was fucking terrifying. And thank God she's okay now. That says a lot for the amount of...
I know she's okay, but I'm not sure didn't she hit people? Like, I'm fairly certain there were people in that building that got hurt.
I don't think so, because I believe she only touched the outside, because I know she didn't hit just wall. I know there was a net in the way, because she ended up getting caught upside down in it.
They saw this coming.
I know it touched the wall, but I don't think it plowed in and hit somebody standing in the window. At least I don't remember that happening. It was a while ago.
Yeah, I don't remember, and we're just bringing this up just as conversation, spitballing.
Right.
So.
But yeah, we, as us racing fans know, open wheel racing can be extremely dangerous when there's contact. And, especially on a track where you're going 200 plus miles an hour for a long period of time, that could be a serious issue. And then you put somebody that's not used to the stock car in there with people that spend half the time driving bumping into each other, because that's just how NASCAR goes. And, now he's got to worry about all these different things happening around him while trying to race. And I think if he qualified well enough, I think it would be okay, because he would be able to stay ahead of most of it. And, with the Indy experience, he's got the skill to drive. That's not an issue. But if he's mid-pack, first time in the car ever, no warm-up, none of it, that's a recipe for disaster.
Especially, I don't think you watched the highlights of the Monday race. Well, let's actually talk about the racing. The racing was essentially a typical Talladega race. Essentially, you turn in for the last 20 laps, and
of course,
you've seen everything that was
everything that's important.
About the race.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, the last 20 laps and the last lap was insane. Ryan Blaney wound up winning the race by 0.007 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to have to go back and watch.
With people crashing behind him.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it was a shit show right at the end.
There were 3 crashes on the last lap. And
Jesus
then, I think it was with 10 to go that there was the big one that almost always happens at the quote-unquote restrictor plate tracks, which we'll figure out what the hell we want to call them later. The big one that always happens, I think, happened 15 laps to go, and then it was a 9 to 10 lap shootout, and then 0.007.
That's fucking
and
insane.
Ryan Blaney, I think, is one of the new stars of NASCAR, because he's now got 4 wins. It's him, and
it's his second season, right?
I think this is his 3rd season now.
Second or third.
Yeah, he hasn't been around long, and he's winning pretty consistently. He's winning more consistently than his 2 teammates, Keselowski
Right.
and Logano. Well, I mean, Logano won the championship not a couple years ago, so I mean, and
He's had room to
Logano was
chill.
pretty much. Yeah, Logano was going to be the next big thing, but now it looks like Blaney's the next big thing. Like, along with Blaney and Elliott. Sorry, a Mustang just drove by, and I thought it sounded like shit, and I was like, what the fuck was that?
Oh, what else is new?
Yeah. Luckily, there's nobody on the street right now, so everyone's safe.
Right.
It's in lookout crowds. Yeah. Okay. Stupid joke. Moving back on. Speaking of Mustangs, get back to Penske Racing. Anyways, so yeah, Ryan Blaney is like gonna be one of the new superstars, and he's like best friends with Bubba Wallace too.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
So,
all the young guys tend to be friends with each other because, that's their crowd.
They hang out. Yeah.
Yeah. And you see that across, any hobby, but all racing. You see a lot of the, similar age groups spending time with each other, which it's just something you expect, similar generations, if not the same, similar age groups, similar interests. Hell, you see that a lot with the, the sim racing, or the professional drivers in sim racing as well. And they get together all the fucking time and talk shit. And you see guys on rival teams talking to each other. And, like, what's his face that I watch all the fucking time? I can't think of his name. On McLaren. Was great friends with Max Verstappen because they spend so much time together.
Norris?
Yeah, Lando Norris and Max Verstappen have become really good friends because they drive together on fucking sim racing whenever they're not going head to head.
Yeah. And that was always the case back when sim started happening with like Dale Earnhardt and Matt Kenseth. They were huge like competitors going all the way back to the Busch Series in like '98. But then they started racing on sim a bit with each other, and Dale Earnhardt still races on sim quite often. Well, obviously he did a lot this summer because of this whole COVID thing, but
he's probably been waiting for the opportunity to just lock himself in the room and play some video games. Hell, that's what I've been doing.
Especially since he's got a daughter, I think like a 6-year-old daughter, and he's got another daughter on the way. Apparently, she's pregnant again.
And he might need a little bit of time for himself.
Speaking of daughters and sims, during one of those sim races during this COVID thing, did you see what happened with Denny Hamlin during one race?
I thought I read an article about it, but I don't remember specifically what happened.
His daughter came in the middle of the race and tried to talk to him, and she accidentally pressed a button on the remote and turned off the sim in the middle of one of the NASCAR invitationals.
They call it mechanical failure. As for his DNF.
No, well they just noticed that his car just disappeared.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
And so then he wound up like calling in to the Fox studios and like, so yeah, my daughter turned off the power button, and so I'm out of the race.
That's so funny. I mean, you gotta feel bad for the guy, but it's a really cute moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really funny.
What is this phone number?
You know what they should do is... Oh, here's a great idea. For, to prevent continuous cheating within, sim racing at the professional level of, drivers racing in competitive sim, they should make them live stream it, and then they can answer fan questions for the people that, donate to have their question answered, say, $5-10, something like that. How's the race going, or whatever, question you want to ask. As long as it's not too long and it's not during a moment they're not too distracted, they can, periodically answer a question. And that way,
Similar to
that ensures that they're there and in check and doing their thing. Because, one, if they're answering questions too fast, they might not be playing. Two, now they have to worry about a whole second other thing, and that, gives them reason to maintain focus and, could present some more interesting moments, such as, crashes or missed corners, things like that. That could completely change the dynamic of the race.
I have heard one thing about the whole Daniel App thing. Apparently, some people believe that this was just a convenient excuse to get rid of Daniel Abt. Apparently, they were thinking of doing it anyways.
I guess he's been on the shit list for a while.
Speculation. It's just all rumors and speculation, which, like...
Of course.
But I heard something like, yeah, they got rid of him because of that, but they probably were going to anyways.
Right. Like, this just gave him a good reason to, and he did it to him fucking self. Right. It's not like the team told him to do that, and then they're like, he did that, and get rid of it now. No, he did it himself, and he fucked up. Now he's paying the price for it, and he lost his seat in one of the biggest up-and-coming series in the world.
Yeah.
Sorry, stupid.
So, I guess there's not a whole lot of racing going on this weekend. Next weekend is going to be the good one. This weekend, there's essentially NASCAR at Pocono. 2 races at Pocono. Right. Saturday and Sunday. And we already talked about Long John and whatever. Pocono's a fun racetrack. I like the design of the track. Let's bring up some trivia for this non-NASCAR fan in Minty. What are the 3 tracks that the corners are based off of?
Wait.
So, what? Pocono only has 3 corners.
Okay.
And all 3 corners are based off other famous race courses. They're essentially copying other race courses. Because the person who designed Pocono was a fan of specifically IndyCar racing. It was actually built for IndyCars originally. So there's 3 tracks and 3 corners. And what 3 tracks were they designed after? For your NASCAR tip of the episode.
See, this is tricky because now you have to remember every corner on every track in order to get this. And I don't have a picture in front of me. You know, on my monitor.
And pull it up.
Well, I feel like that was cheating. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that. Okay, we can do that.
Like pull up. Well, I mean, you're not a NASCAR fan. You're not like me, who's done like.
Oh, that's right. Duh. It's literally a fucking triangle.
Yeah, the triangle. Yeah. So there's 3 corners, and 1, 2, and 3, and they literally have a thing of what turn 4. Because.
Oh yeah, because there literally is not a turn 4.
What are those 3 corners? They're all made to be like other tracks that have or do exist. Like they're the same like design of corner. What are those 3 tracks? Obviously they're all oval. I'll narrow it down that way. They're all oval.
Wait, a lot of them are rovals though too, aren't they? Not just strictly ovals?
The 3 tracks that those corners are based off of are road course or ovals. Now, one of them does have a road course with it. Like, does have a roval, yes.
Right. I was going to say...
It's based off the oval corner.
Daytona for one. I'm assuming... No... I would assume some of the bigger tracks. So, you know, Daytona, Indianapolis, and... What's another big track for... That's an oval... Surely not Charlotte.
Well, remember they're based off IndyCar tracks.
Right.
Because the guy who designed the track was an IndyCar fan. And it was originally designed to provide good racing for Indy.
Did I get any of them correct so far?
You got Indy.
Okay, so yeah, I figured Indianapolis had to be.
Is an exact copy of all 4 corners of Indy. Not, same 90-degree turn and 9-degree banking, just like Indy. I see you cheating. But anyways, so turn 3 is supposed to be the Milwaukee Mile, which in the past has traditionally been the race after the Indy 500, the week right after. So it's like 3 degrees banking, like essentially no banking whatsoever, and a big wide sweeping turn. And then turn 1 was originally Trenton Motor Speedway in Trenton, New Jersey, which is now no longer existing.
So you never would have fucking guessed that.
Yeah, but it also has the same curvature and the same angle and banking as Michigan. So a lot of people say, okay, it's based off Michigan now, because that's also was a very big Indy car track way back when.
Right.
They also compare it a lot to like Charlotte and stuff like that. So when you said Charlotte, I was like, okay, you kind of got that part down. So
Charlotte just seemed a little too tight, but it makes sense for the corner.
The what? What'd you say?
Well, initially my thought was, no, Charlotte's too small of a track, and then I remembered the diameter of two of the corners on the Pocono track are very tight. So that's kind of where I was like, maybe?
Yeah. This might be a thing that we do later on more of, is start doing like trivia questions to each other. Since he can do trivia questions to me about drifting or stuff like that, point. Because I am not like, I know of drifting, I know some things, but I'm not as super into it as he is, and I can do that with nearly every other motorsport, I guess. I don't know.
I'm pretty good. Like, I'm not, as knowledgeable, and I haven't been.
You're better than you're better than most people I talk to, or else I wouldn't be doing a podcast with you.
Fair enough.
You're like most people. So, maybe that could be a new thing. You could do Stump the Nav or something.
Ooh, that's a fun idea. Yeah, that's a great idea as well for, once again, Discord, can't push it enough. Come to the fucking Discord. It's going to be awesome. You can send me a DM or whatever with some of your better questions and answers, and if we beat Neil, or actually, if I decide to use your question, I'll feature your, username or your name or whatever you want to promote.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely give you
on the podcast.
We'll definitely give shout-outs.
That'll be fun. Oh, that reminds me, the Guess Our Cars contest is still going on, so more people that want to participate.
I completely forgot about that.
Please throw it in the comments. No one's gotten any close at all, because I don't think we've had more than one guess on it.
I think we had one guess, and it was
one guess.
Like I think it was more of a joke than anything.
Yeah. But yeah, it's what it is. We're here for the memes as well. Speaking of we do have a topical meme as well, which is a segment we skipped during our video/audio only, YouTube only episode. But
YouTube only, yes.
We do have a relevant meme. This one found by Nab2488. Shit username.
Let me. That guy's an asshole, anyways. It's probably a stupid looking one.
Let me pull it up here, and I appreciate the shit out of this one. This is a not quite a dank meme, but an appreciated meme.
I wouldn't say
throw that on the screen meme, here. No. I'll read it out to the audio listeners here. It's a lot of people on the racetrack getting ready to have a race started, and it says, "Me and the boys on our way to kill the MF who put the noose in Bubba's garage."
Well, if you don't actually know, that shot was from the beginning, before the race. Every single driver came up next to Bubba Wallace's car and then pushed it to the front of the field before the race started.
That's so fucking cool.
Like,
good sportsmanship, guys.
And then Bubba got out of the car. Bubba was in the car driving it, and then when Bubba got out, his team owner, Richard Petty, came over and just gave him a massive hug. And
he said some very nice things online as well. Please continue.
Oh, Richard?
Yeah.
Oh, Richard Petty. Yeah, Richard Petty's just, it's Richard Petty.
It's kind of the fucking man.
The fact that he did that when he's in his 80s, and he was like, listen, I can risk getting COVID because right now all I want to do is hug my driver. I was like, come on, that is amazing. I love Richard Petty. He's just amazing. I never really got to watch him race because I didn't become a fan of NASCAR till after he retired. I've gone back and watched his racing. I never watched it live, but God, he's just awesome.
He's a badass dude.
That man. Yeah. Well, I think that is a very great way to end the episode. How about you?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've got as well. You know, thanks to all of you who have been, you know, vigilant and understanding with some of our more activist-based content lately. It's not something that we want to dig into regularly, but when it's a really important topic, and especially if it affects the racing world as well, we'd love to, you know, give our 2 cents on it and hopefully gather some support from like-minded people who want to see racing progress into the future and the U.S. progress into the future and the rest of the world progress, because, you know, racing's already kind of a niche sport compared to, you know, any other ball sport or competition sport, you know, whatever it might be. So thanks to all of you who've been really cool about, you know, allowing, well, not only allowing, but being supportive of, you know, more diversity within our sport. That's really cool to see.
And hopefully soon we can just get back to just talking about racing.
Right.
And forgetting all of this and getting all of this behind us.
That would be awesome, Neil.
Because it's just so, it's a drain.
It is. It's disappointing, but once again, thanks to all of you who are, you know, against this bullshit, childish, fucking idiotic behavior.
Amen.
A couple things we need to promote. Number one is, if you're watching this on YouTube and don't always have the time to sit down and watch, you know, a video for an hour, we're on Spotify now. So if you're, you know, driving to work or whatever again, or going for a run, whatever it may be, that you can't sit down and watch the video, check us out on Spotify. Once again, it's Racecar time. You guys already know how it is. Discord, we want to be able to, you know, enjoy some of our more, or take advantage of more of our involvement with, you know, the community we're just beginning to grow now. And Discord's an amazing way to do it. We've got a number of different channels where you can post things from memes to whatever racing topics you want. Hell, we even got a fucking show off your car area in there, or virtual car meet.
Yeah, the car meet one. Yeah.
And we're going to hold off on putting ours in there until it gets guessed.
We're not posting ours until somebody guesses our cars.
Of course, yeah.
So, and no, none of our friends that used to work with us are allowed because they know what we drive.
All right, I'll bleep that part out because I don't want to advertise where we were. But they already know who they are.
True.
With that being said, once again, best meme of the week gets highlighted at the end of the video, as well as, you know, we've got open voice channels, and we're going to start trying to get more, you know, live stream commentaries and group watches going on in there, so that way, you know, once again, you can communicate with us. We'd love to hear more about your interest within racing and what you think of some of the topics that are current and relative, and be able to go from there. What's another thing we need to promote, Neil? Oh, Instagram. Check out the Instagram. Yes. Every time we go... Right.
Hasn't been super active lately because there's hardly anything going on. But...
True, and Neil's in charge of it as well. I'm just kidding. Anyway, every time we go live with a new video, we post it there. And then, Neil, have you been posting it at the same time you're posting the audio track to Spotify?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So that's when you know we'll be live. We're not running a Twitter at the moment. That might be something that we have to look into going into the future. I'm not super big on Twitter myself, but...
neither am I.
Best way to keep up with
Twitter
it...
or Facebook. Which is weird. Like, I'm into Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, but I'm not into Facebook.
It is what it is. But, yeah, Instagram probably the best way to know when we go live. If you don't know, we're trying to have it out every Thursday. I'm trying my best to have it out by noon on Thursday, although sometimes it takes a while to render video and all that good stuff, so it might be a little bit later, but I'm holding myself to Thursday. I've got one thing I want to promote for myself, and that is, once again, if you want to have any questions for me, or want to ask me about any race car related stuff, gaming related stuff, music, whatever it might be. I stream live on twitch.tv/keepitminty every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Neil, do you have anything personal you would like to promote?
Nope, I don't have anything going on. I'm just waiting for COVID to be over so I can finally go watch some racing in person. Hey, and he finally showed up for his...
And of course, the star of the show himself, Churro, do you have anything you would like to shout out? The comfiness of your new chair. All right. Anyway, thanks for tuning into the 6th episode of It's Racecar Time. I've been Minty, joined by my co-host Nab, as well as our favorite co-host Churro. Everybody, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week for some more racing-related conversation. Thanks.